And we are live. Welcome to another episode of Business Focus Live with me, John, where we talk about business related topics as well as news from here and around the world. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and let's get started. And we're back. Thank you for joining me again today. So, there are a lot of things that has happened this past week. So, without further ado, let's start with our first topic. So, it's all about Apple this week and uh, Sony's PlayStation release, but we'll start off first with Apple. So they had recently finished or concluded their Apple Time Flies event, wherein they talked about releasing their new products in terms of Apple Watches as well as Apple iPods. And we'll talk about more about it later on. But there was no mention yet of their release for their latest flagship phone or iPhone 12, but there's a lot of things that was discussed there, so let's uh, look at the details here. So let's shift to the screen. Oh yes, so as you can see here, so they just finished with their recent events on Time Flies, talking about their new products as mentioned on Apple Watches and iPads. Now you might wonder, is Apple iWatch still popular with the masses, with the consumer as well as the iPods? You'll see later on why they are pushing those two key products in this launch. To look further, so in terms of Apple Watch, so they're provided with a, it looks fancy first, and they're touting this latest new Apple Watch Series 6 that has a special feature in terms of black ox blood oxygen black sorry blood oxygen monitoring. So in terms of health, you'll be able to monitor your blood oxygen levels, which is kind of important, especially with you know now during the year of the pandemic, people are even more health conscious than ever. So if we were to take a look, so some of the key features that they mentioned is the Apple Watch is 2.5 times better in terms of brightness, and also has an altimeter wherein you can determine what altitude you are in. Now, based on these features, they also have, let me see what was here. Yeah, so it's also features a what do you call this? They measure the blood oxygen in terms of saturation. Now, obviously, anything below 85% is considered bad. So anything above 95% is always good for us. Now, one of the key features that they mention in their wristwatch is in terms of the solo loop that they call it. So let's take a look here what it looks like. Yeah, like this. So if you notice here, there's no sort of clasp in a sense, so it's somewhat stretchable. Okay, so I don't know if people would like this type of features, or you're used to typical strap that you have to lock it in and be able to use it. Now, obviously, they're using a different type of material that is stretchable, rubbery in a sense, or different materials of sorts. My wrist tend to sweat a lot, so I don't know if it would suit me well to use this type of technology. But you know, they're releasing it at $400, so that's 20,000 pesos, approximate to a lower tier mid-end smartphone. So for those who are interested, there's something to look forward to. Now, if you're very price conscious, they're also releasing a lower end model, which is the Apple Watch SE, at a lower cost of 279. Now, one of the key issues here is that they remove a particular features. There is no USB power adapter, so they've been transitioning in terms of what do you call this? Transitioning to a chargeless device in a sense. So they're gearing towards more on wireless charging. Now, obviously, one of the downsides of using wireless charging is the the slow capability of charging your phone or even your wristwatch fast compared to a which is directly wired to an outlet and so forth. So not only that, they're also offering the latest iPad features. So let's take a look here. Yeah. So they're offering iPad for the family. So this is something that they could use, which is, I don't know if iPad's still a popular device for the majority, but for those who are using it not just for personal consumption, maybe you could use it as an alternative to a laptop, is something to look forward to. Now, one of the main reasons why they push these two products, the iPhone Watch or Apple Watch, and the iPad itself, is so they are pushing this ecosystem of Apple products in a sense. So they're using it in their virtual fitness service system that they're offering. So where is it? Yeah, here. So they're offering a subscription fee wherein obviously people are stuck at home. So whether they want to stay fit, they can subscribe to the service fee. Very affordable. So the Apple One bundle is retail priced at $15, and for family it could be as much as $20. So it's not that expensive if you think about it. Now, obviously, if you want additional features like you want news, more storage, and so forth, it would cost you roughly around $30. Now, obviously, this is big. This is going against or competing against with one of their app developer Spotify, who provides music as well. So that's why Apple is embroiled in this antitrust scheme for being for their monopolistic practices in trying to gain more market share, more revenue in the marketplace. Now we have to wait and see what happens here. Obviously, it's not just Spotify. Obviously, Apple Watch is trying to what do you call this? Is trying to compete against Fitbit, which is Google's trying to purchase them. I think this year. So that's something to see here. Continuing. So for our next story here, so obviously we've already familiar. We've talked about in previous weeks regarding Amazon's dominance in the marketplace in terms of their e-commerce platform. So they've cornered the market in the United States region as well as parts of Europe, but not so much in the Asian region. But obviously, you have Alibaba there. But the next big market outside of China is the Indian market, which is where they try to penetrate the market. But it looks more difficult than that's not necessary, but it looks more difficult because of the different situation that it is in India. So let's take a look here. So in India, you can see here. So in India, one of the big retail stores here is owned by the company, what do you call this? Reliance Industries Inc., which is a behemoth in India, wherein they're offering a $20 billion stake, offering this to Amazon to partner up with said company. Now, obviously, the company here is not just into retail, but also they're known for their conglomerate in terms of they are focused in energy, petrochemicals, textiles, natural resources, retail, as I mentioned, and telecommunications. So they have a wide, diversified portfolio which can compete with the likes of Amazon. Now, obviously, Amazon is trying to get a foothold in the marketplace, but that's not as easy as it looks. So Reliance here is trying to partner up with Amazon so they can collaborate and even gain a bigger foothold in the marketplace. So obviously, India is not a typical, what do you call this? It's not a typical business model wherein you want to sell your products online and such. India is more known for their selling of their products on a typical brick and mortar uh, system wherein you go to the actual store to purchase your items here. Now, why is Amazon so interested in the Indian market? Well, guess what? The retail market alone generates $1 trillion of revenue. So that's obviously that's something Amazon want to take a piece of that revenue here. Now, obviously, it's not just the retail market that companies are trying to get a foothold. Actually, in other as I mentioned, in telecommunication, they also have Geo, wherein Facebook or even Google is trying to have a stake as much as $20 billion as well. And for those who are not familiar, who is the current CEO? We have Ambani, which established the Reliance Industries as mentioned earlier. So their focus is obviously in the Reliance retail, supermarket stores, and electronic stores. So they have fashion outlets as well as cash and carry wholesalers. Now, obviously, they have the online store. Apart from their brick and mortar, is called the Geo, which is obviously wherein Amazon can compete, but it's a difficult endeavor, especially how Reliance has a big foothold in that particular market. Now, obviously, the 22 billion revenue that they generate, recently, and the vast amounts of stores that they have at their disposal, around 12,000 stores, is a big, substantial mark, uh, foothold in the market here. It would be interesting how would this unfold in the future, where it would be a alliance more so than a rival in a sense, because obviously Amazon wants to have a foothold in that market, but not without Reliance help here. Anyway, so continuing here, so going to entertainment here now, we've discussed this in check. I think I lost my audio again. I don't know how long I lost it. Anyway, so going to the next segment, which is talking about entertainment in the movie industry, not just movie theaters in general. Now, we've talked in previous installments of our live stream regarding how movie theaters are rushing to open to resume their business because they rely solely on people watching movies to generate their revenue, and they've already invested heavily in improving the facility so that people are comfortable knowing that the facility is safe in this case. But based on the recent article here, according to CNBC, that movie theaters are open, but what are we expect to watch if there are no blockbuster films that are being shown here? So let's take a look here. So as mentioned in the article here, now obviously based on the report here that Wonder Woman, which is it's going to be a blockbuster hit, but it has been pushed back as far back as later this Christmas, which is a big deal for many, moviegoers if they have to wait that long, several months away before they can watch big blockbuster films such as Wonder Woman. Now, obviously, what brought this about of pushing back the release date of this film. Now, obviously, this has been due to the fact that based on the latest release of a particular film, I don't know if you've watched the film Tenant, which was a okay film of such, which generated 10 to 20 million in revenue, which is, if you think about in the overall scheme pre-pandemic, it's considered somewhat a low revenue amount. Obviously, they expect it to generate in terms of hundreds or even in billions, if even possible. And if Wonder Woman were to release, let's say today or in the next month, you can expect a significant dip in their projected revenue sales here. Obviously, they want to play it safe, so they want to push it back as late as they can. Now, in turn, this would affect significantly with the movie theaters who are releasing those films. So what are people supposed to watch? Now, obviously, what drives people to watch on the movie theaters is the big films, right? Even I am looking forward to watch the film Wonder Woman. Apart from that, I think pre-pandemic I was looking forward to watch the film of uh, the latest James Bond, or I think the last film for Daniel Craig. but that would be pushed again. So when can people watch it? And can we watch it somewhere else apart from a movie theater, like how Disney did and released their film in in their Disney streaming services? So obviously this will have a significant effect in the bottom line of those movie theaters. Now, do you blame those movie outfits for delaying the release of those films? Not necessarily. Obviously, this movie theater chains, so obviously they're heavily indebted in terms of expanding their movie theaters, but they have enough solvency to stay relevant in this particular year all the way to early next year. But if there's no films being shown or blockbuster films being shown, people are not going out to watch those said films, then it's looking sort of doom and gloom. And how do you expect them to survive? Even more so for independent movie theaters who doesn't have the resources and capability to stay in the marketplace here. Now, that's why many movie theaters are apprehensive in upgrading the said cost to ensure safetiness of, the safetiness of the patrons who are watching the films here. And at the end of the day, money matters here. So if the movie is not going to do well, they'll push it off, and obviously in turn, which affects the movie theater industry as well here. Anyway, continuing with entertainment, so let's go now to gaming. So now we've talked about the issues that was brought about in Xbox with the delay of their supposed to be their launch title in Halo, which is pushed back by next year. And things are not doing well for Xbox, but still, they've already released the pricing scheme for their Xbox Series X, Series S, and now we have PlayStation, which we'll discuss in a little bit, wherein they already discussed the pricing similar to how Xbox is pricing their top tier. But the focus here for the next gen consoles, wherein they're touting the 4K capability. Now, obviously, Nintendo doesn't want to be left behind with this aspect. So what has been confirmed so far is that they're going to release a next gen console which has a 4K capability. Okay, so they're calling it the Nintendo Switch Pro, which is, for if you're a Nintendo Switch lover, that's something to look forward to. Am I right? But I think I noticed one of the key features here that they're touting, that there is a, what do you call this? Wait, I think I have a problem with my mic for a while. Yeah, in terms of their tech, yeah, they're changing in terms of their actual, what do you call this? They're actually changing their layout of how a Switch Pro would look like to compete with the likes of PS5 as well as the Xbox Series X or Series S. So they're already asking third-party developers to make the games that is 4K compatible, which is great news, right? If you think about it. But the problem here is at what cost? Now, they talked about that they have patented a new Joy-Con. Okay, so let's take a look what it looks like. So it will make sense as to how it would look like in the overall scheme. Now, obviously, this is what a typical Switch would look like, right? You can detach it so you can play it home console, or you can play it portable outside or anywhere. Now they introduced the Switch Lite, which is somewhat portable still, but you cannot remove the Joy-Cons anymore, which is understandable, which is cheaper, right? But with the new patent that they're introducing, let's take a look here below. Yeah, here. You can clearly see here that the Joy-Cons here is not anymore attached to the main device itself, which is, I don't know if it's alarming, if you would say, but wait here. So in terms of the pattern that's being shown here, it leads me to suspect that they're more gearing towards to a more home console concept, competing with the likes of PlayStation, as well as Xbox Series X idea of being just a home console rather than being portable here, which breaks their uniqueness in terms of the feature that they're offering, right? That the feature that is unique to Nintendo Switch is the ability to play the games anywhere else. But if you're going to shift back to a more home console idea, I don't know how would that work. If you're going to compete with the likes of them, rather than compete, be an alternative option, right? You can play at home with your Sony and your Xbox, or you can play outside and bring your Switch there, which is what I do in the first place. But let's see how it pans out in terms of the overall scheme here. Now, not only that, we'll also discuss, Fortnite has been in the in the news for several weeks regarding, you know, fighting against, suing against, what do you call this, Apple, you know, regarding Epic's issue with Apple's scheme of charging 30% fee and so forth. So what do? They ban Fortnite, so where can you play your Fortnite games anymore? Obviously, for those Apple users, you have no more alternative here. You cannot update and play the latest season of their Battle Royale. Now, in this case, what they're offering is, why not switch to a Nintendo, right? Wherein they offered a Fortnite Special Edition. Okay, so let's take a look here. Yeah, it looks like that. So it's a Fortnite Special Edition for Nintendo that has the features of, what do you call this? Yeah, you can see the color scheme for the yellow and blue one, as well as the on their main box console. So it's interesting here if people would buy a limited edition here, which, if you're a Nintendo, if a Fortnite gamer, I think that's something you would pick up right away. Now you get to have the special edition as mentioned, and the game Fortnite is pre-installed, as well as you'll be given 2,000 V-Bucks, which is the currency that they're using in Fortnite. Okay, so something to look forward to if you're into Fortnite. Now, continuing with our gaming discussion here. Now, question here is, which consoles would you be interested to buy come holiday here? Now, obviously we've been discussing about Sony's release. There's Xbox release date, and as well as confirmed, what do you call this? Confirmed Switch Pro for hopefully by later this year or early next year. But anyway, for Sony's launch of PS5, which will be launched later this year at November 12th for around $500, which is competing similar to how Xbox is pricing their console as well. So let's take a look here. So question here is, which is the better product here? Is it the Sony PlayStation, or is it the Xbox Series X or Series S? What model you ever want to call it? It gets kind of confusing here. But one thing is for sure. So let's compare it side by side. Now, obviously, there are two versions that they are offering here. So for the Sony PlayStation, they have the digital version, which is cheaper. How much was it? Let's take a look here. So it's priced at $399. So $400, that's around 20,000 pesos. And then the regular PS5 with a CD, you can play CDs there, is priced at $500, which is around 25,000 pesos. So there's a 5,000 difference. Now, if you're trying to, if you're more on the digital games when you play your games, it's better. You can save up to 5,000. But at the end of the day, games are piling up in terms of storage, right? So 1 terabyte may not be enough. You can, let's say, a game can be stored up to 50 terabytes, even some 100 terabytes. So you can pile up your library very fast. So it's up to you. And for the Xbox Series X, so they're offering the same price as the regular PS5. Now for the cheaper edition, for the Series S, they're offering it $100 less than the digital edition of your PS5. So the question here is, what can you afford to buy? Now, in terms of the console, it can be torn apart in terms of which is one better than the other, but at the end of the day, it's all about the games. Now, obviously, Microsoft has done a terrible job in terms of marketing their product. They're solely focused on their Xbox Game Pass, right? But for Sony Sony's PlayStation, they're more focused on the games or first party or exclusive games. So at launch, they're touted to release the game. You have Spider-Man Miles Morales, so it's a standalone film, and then they also have I would say remastered, but it's an updated version of the Demon Souls game, a precursor of Dark Souls for those who are not familiar. And then you also have the Ratchet and Clank series, and then yeah, Fortnite, Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, and I'm sure many of you are looking forward for the release of Cyberpunk 2077. So if you're looking for exclusivity here, I think Sony is the way to go here. But if you like playing multiplayer games, you like to play a long list of older games, you have Xbox Game Pass here. So it's up to you to decide which one would you prefer. Actually, Sony was doing so well until today. We're in regarding the launch release, pre-orders. Obviously, a lot of people, millions of people are looking forward to buy their next gen console. But there was a miscommunication on their part, which is they've been doing this for how many iterations already, from PS1 all the way to PS5, and yet they can't get their act together. So that when they're said going to release by, let's say, November 12, like they mentioned in the article, why can't they say, or let's say by end of September, you can start your pre-orders so that people can prepare for it? Not just say it a day, within the day, and then spread it using Twitter, where how can people know that if they don't have a Twitter account and so forth, right? But anyway, but again, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, people will still rush in to buy their consoles at the end of the day. And actually, there have been reports that scalpers are buying those consoles up so that they can resell it in eBay at a more exorbitant, twice the amount fee. That's why I'm not always in a rush to buy, what do you call this? I'm not always in a rush to buy their games initially. Yeah. Okay, so continuing here. Now, we've been talking about games. What was it? Oh no, I lost my for a while. Yeah, so continuing, having technical difficulties all day long. Anyway, continuing now, obviously, the next article here, we have celebrities boycotting Instagram for protesting for failures in terms of Stop for Hate Profit. Now, what they're doing is, admirable in a sense, but, with little grit in a sense. What do I mean? They're only protesting to said Instagram platform, and also as well as Facebook, for just one day. So let's take a look here. So celebrities that are known, particular Kim Kardashian West, as well as you have Katy Perry, Michael B. Jordan, the artist, not the player. Then you have Ashton Kutcher, who are supporting the Stop for Hate Profit, right? Which is admirable if you think about it. Obviously, we don't want hate, we don't want racism, and so forth, right? But the question is, how do you go about combating that? Now, if you want to hurt where it hurts the company here, obviously it hurts them in terms of their bottom line. And what do I mean? If you want to stop supporting them, go right ahead. The likes of the big name companies or advertisers such as Starbucks, Coca-Cola, and Verizon have paused their support or advertising, investing their advertising in the company. But obviously, more people need to see this and support them in terms of boycotting them in general. But boycotting them in terms of one day, means nothing to Facebook or even Instagram here. If you really want to hurt the company's bottom line, stop supporting them. Now, in the case of Kim Kardashian here, she has almost 200 million followers. And if you were to say, let's stop supporting this platform, then that would hurt the bottom line of Facebook or even Instagram here, right? It's not just the influencers, but also companies that support the business. And if it affects the business, then they would change how they treat their people and their customers in general. Obviously, Facebook has been in hot waters with their monopolistic control of information, what is allowed to be featured, which is not, who gets to dictate which one is better, which one is allowed and not, and so forth, right? So who gets to regulate them in general? So they get to dictate what is allowed and what is not. Now, obviously, there are a lot of stars that are supporting this initiative. You have Sacha Baron Cohen, you have Naomi Campbell, Judd Apatow, Leonardo DiCaprio. Now, obviously, they have good intentions. I think they just need to push more of the agenda and not just stop with one day. Why not with 1 week, a month, or even a year? Then that would really hurt those companies, or in this case, Facebook, right? Continuing, so for some updates, now we've been talking in previous weeks about the situation that is, TikTok. We don't know what will happen to it. Will it be sold? Will it be bought by companies such as Oracle, Microsoft? There were talks of Walmart and so forth. And we have the latest update here. In terms of, Oracle is close to have a deal with TikTok, wherein ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, aims for majority ownership. So, for those who are not familiar, Oracle, which is founded by Larry Ellison, which is a big supporter of Trump here. That's why I think Oracle has been the front runner in terms of being able to, actually it's not being able to acquire, but it's more of a partnership with the company that is TikTok here. So we're in TikTok can keep the majority ownership here. So the global business HQ in USA. So the point here is to create more jobs in the United States, as much as 20,000 here. So in this case, the Oracle company will become a partner in a sense, not necessarily a takeover of TikTok here. So there'll be, obviously Oracle is known for the server businesses, cloud-based business. So there'll be more focus on managing the data, which is the main contention in the first place of data privacy issues. They will only have a minority stake here in the company. So now whether that's going to go well with the government, obviously some of them are saying if ByteDance is still the majority owner here, then what's stopping them from manipulating the data again, which is the main issue to begin with. But another is I think Senator Rubio is against that. The entirety of ByteDance, or not ByteDance, the company should sell off their shares and it should be owned by an American company. Well, hopefully the the story of TikTok will be closed by end of the year. Things are getting more interesting as the time goes by here. So hopefully it will get resolved sooner rather than later, right? And for some local news, now if you are living here in the city of Manila, now there are good news if you have you own properties here in the city. Now, the government is looking ways to generate more revenue in terms of collection. Obviously, with the pandemic, everything is down, businesses are down. So how do they encourage people to pay their taxes? In particular, property tax, right? Based on experiences in the past, individuals or people in general tend not to pay their taxes on time. So what they're allowing here is some middle ground of sorts. Rather than wait for an amnesty of sorts, so they will allow you to pay your taxes on an installment basis. Sorry. So let's take a look here. So the city of Manila is allowing for unpaid taxes to be paid in an installment basis, which is good news, right? If you think about it. So it works both ways, or twofold, if you think about it. So first is this increases the tax collection for the government, as well as provide relief to taxpayers, especially this year that we're dealing with a pandemic and so forth. So the point here is to generate more revenue or more tax collection for the city of government here. Now, how will it work? So you settle your back taxes over 3 years, right? So I think you have ample time to settle with it. But is it enough to encourage most of the individuals to pay their taxes on time? Obviously, they've already provided incentives here. What do I mean? So they provided a 20% discount if you paid in full, which is a big amount if you think about it. The larger the tax fee, you can save a lot more. And then if you pay that before December 10th, you get the 20% discount. And then by end of the year, which is December 29, you get 15% discount only. And by January 31st, you only get 10% discount. Now, obviously, this has been implemented for several years already, but the question here is, why is it that people are not paying their taxes, especially property tax? Is it too high? Maybe it's time to lower it a bit so that people would be encouraged to pay their taxes on time. Again, at the end of the day, we need to support our government because this supports our basic services, hospitals, education, our law enforcement, and so forth. So hopefully, it will have an impact in our society. And finally, for our last news. So for those who are thinking what the future would look like, well, the future would look something like this. Now, for those who are, typically accustomed buying their products, going to the stores, going to malls and so forth, well, that's now a difficult endeavor because of the pandemic. People are apprehensive, stuck at home. So what do? We order online, right? Whether through Lazada, Shopee, and so forth, even Amazon or eBay. So how can we get our products as fast as possible and reliable? So two main companies, Walmart and Amazon, are leading the charge here. So they're providing I wouldn't say a new way of delivering. Technically, it's a new way of delivering your goods by using the sky. Okay. So what do you mean by sky? So they'll be using drones to deliver your products to your doorstep, which is kind of interesting. Now, but wait, don't expect it to be commonplace in the very near future. So let's take a look here. So as you can see here, Walmart is getting closer to delivering goods via sky, as well as Amazon here. So what they're doing here is obviously they're improving their services, providing more what they're doing right now. And one of the things that Walmart is doing is pilot testing the drone delivery services in North Carolina, somewhere in Fayetteville. Is that correct? I hope I'm pronouncing the location properly. So they are parachuting the drones from the sky and deliver it typically in the suburbs primarily. Now, obviously, there are still limitations in terms of this service. So obviously, drones are very small, and in terms of their range, they can only go as far as 6 miles. That's a round trip already. So 3 miles going to one place, then 3 miles going back. Otherwise, it would run out of battery and sorts. And it can only carry up to 7 pounds. So you have to make several trips if you're going to make it as a viable means of delivering your products to your doorstep. Now, obviously, Amazon is already implementing this using their Prime Air drones, wherein they're promising a 30-minute delivery, which is going to be a game changer, I think. It used to be that it's same-day delivery is the feature that they are offering now. Once you place an order, if they have a station within your area, they can deliver it as fast as 30 minutes. And would that be the same here in our own backyard? We have to wait and see. Obviously, right now we're still reliant on third-party services to deliver the products and goods. Where in the case they use Grab, or they use their own services to deliver the goods using motorbikes and such, which is technically cheaper. But obviously, investing in better technology that doesn't rely on manpower is something to look forward to in the future, years or even decades down the line, wherein people can expect to see more drones flying all over the sky, seeing products being delivered, lifted down in your doorsteps, and you just get the products and then that's it. That's something to look forward to. Anyway, I think that concludes our live stream for today. If you have any questions about the topics discussed, you can check the link in the description below. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell icon so you can stay updated with the latest news as well as videos. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you again next week. Same time, same channel. Take care.